because it is in our story where we truly find that in our DNA, that same DNA that flowed through our ancestors is here today. And that trail of tears, that forced removal, is where we find that resilience so many times.
And so as you think about your journey, about where you have been personally, not only your ancestors, not only your great-grandparents, but where you have been. And we are in the midst of a revitalization right now that is so exciting. The Trail of Tears has some very meaningful stories, but each one of you has stories.
We must amplify our historical perspective and not allow a modern removal. Sovereignty and self-determination are too valuable for future generations. However, this will require not only the strength of our tribal leaders, it will require the strength of our people.
And we know the battles and we know the scars that our ancestors felt because we feel those. And when we peel these layers back, we can find that healing. And our country, our tribes are undergoing a time of healing continuously. But today, we understand that there's so much that is out there for each of us to grasp and to take hold. And it is organizations like this that are going to be paramount to what our youth see tomorrow, so that they can have a future and pass these stories and these things along in the most relevant and the most righteous way each and every day.
We wouldn't be gathering here knowing that we've got a great Cherokee democracy. We wouldn't be here, and I couldn't be here as a chief of a nation, because our nation might not exist. But it does exist. The Cherokee people are still here. We're stronger than ever, and part of our strength is we've got great friends in the National Trail of Tears Association. Thank you all very much for your friendship and your work.
If it wasn't for Jack, I wouldn't have made it through my first few council meetings. Jack, we were seated right beside one another, and it was always a pleasure. Somebody that loved to have order and have a good direction that followed a good vision. But anyway, I want to say Sio Nagad. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all here. I see some familiar faces, and it's wonderful. Not just here locally, but I got my friends right here from Washington. I mean, what a wonderful day. And any time that I get to come in and get a hug by Miss Mildred Taylor from Marble City, it makes me feel a special warmth in my heart. But I do want to say welcome to the Cherokee Nation Reservation. We're excited to be the host this year for our National Trail of Tears Association Symposium, something that is of the utmost importance. And I want to tell you that Chief Hoskins sends his regrets not being able to be here today. Something important has come up, but he will be with you tomorrow is what I understand. And so just say a prayer, and hopefully you will get to see him tomorrow and everything. But you know, we love this time of year, not just because of these beautiful moms, you know, but it's a time to be able to recognize the harvest that we all undergo, and think back to the times when our people were working diligently throughout the seasons to make sure that we had enough to just get by to the next season before we continued. And you know, when we talk about these things today, we at the Cherokee Nation and Cherokee Nation Business, we've been proud to be a continued sponsor of this organization. This year we were able to do some community partners money and make that monetary donation up to about $50,000 for the fiscal year of 23. So that's something that is very important to us, because we know this matter is important to you. Yes, thank you. I think that our contributions actually just showcase the wonderful partnership that we have between the Cherokee Nation and this association. And you know, the value of the work that you do cannot be understated. You know, I was reading just this week, sitting with the kids, and we're talking about understanding and what that is. And I said, kids, there's so much information that is out there. And I want you to know, just because you read something doesn't mean that that is exactly the way it goes. And that's what this association stands for, is to be able to put the correct information, the things, that way that we understand our history, that way that we can know what we're sharing is correct in so many forms and so many fashions, because I picture Cherokees and other tribes across the great United States of America, where this place here, you know, when they talk about Indian country, folks, I want you to understand all of the United States of America is Indian country. Let's hear an applause for that, please. But you know, the Cherokee story is one that many attach that with the Trail of Tears, but I had to teach my kids just this week that it wasn't just a Cherokee story, that there were so many other tribes that were affected by this, and they are our brothers and sisters, our tribal neighbors. And it's important that we get these stories correct, because there's things that are being told out there that other people are taking in, and you know what, we want to make sure we are the stewards of these stories. Our ancestors, they worked diligently for tribal set-aside dollars, working with the federal government that was not very friendly at so many times and around so many different corners. But people say, why are tribal set-asides important today? Because of the things that we need to do, but also because of the work that our ancestors put forth. And it's something that I take great pride in, and making sure that I represent my people correctly. But I also want to represent our story with the utmost dignity and with the utmost importance, because it is in our story where we truly find that in our DNA, that same DNA that flowed through our ancestors is here today. And that Trail of Tears, that forced removal, is where we find that resilience so many times. And we find that so many times. For me this year, it's been in a song. It's been in a song that is sang by many of our Cherokee people. These old hymns that when times were tough, it lifted up. There were healing in those songs. There's healing in a story each and every day. And I want you to understand that I understand that, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart and throughout all of our tribal leaders. These things that you do, that you represent to make sure that that story is told correctly, will never go unnoticed, and it is of the utmost importance. You know, Jack Baker, when we talk about Jack Baker, so many times I think about our Remember the Removal riders. I see we've got a few riders here in the audience today. That's a treasure that they get to experience. One group in particular, they shared a story with me where they were at a very deep place, and they had these feelings of these emotions, and all of these different things come about them, but all of a sudden they were just covered in these butterflies that were flying all around, and it made them think that we're not alone, that our ancestors were here. So now when I tell my kids, that's another part of that forced removal that I get to tell, even though those individuals, they're retracing those steps, but it is a part of the story that I get to share with my kids, and how important, because that's how they relate to. How does it relate to them today? And so many of you understand that, but we have to make sure that our kids understand the importance of these stories, because there is a lot of static in the air out there, and there's so many things that can take our youth and take their attention away from what is the truth. What is the reality of the situation? But what do we have in front of us? We have an opportunity to take the high road. Just this morning I was talking to a group of individuals about a road that is very narrow and that not many walk on that, and that is that high road. In order to stay there, our Creator, He gives us that balance. He tells us which step to take and how to do that, and if we look to the right, to the left too many times, we fall off of that high road, and we find ourselves on a very broad, a very wide path where it is crowded with all kinds of people, all kinds of stories that may or may not be true. So for you, I tell you, we find individuals like you on that high road to where we can find that truth. We can find that discovery of who we are, because there's people that are born each and every day, and they've walked through life never not knowing who they really are, until they come to a part in the story where they hear about their ancestors, and they wonder, maybe that's why I feel the way that I do so many times. And we know the battles, and we know the scars that our ancestors felt, because we feel those. And when we peel these layers back, we can find that healing. And our country, our tribes are undergoing a time of healing continuously. But today, we understand that there's so much that is out there for each of us to grasp and to take hold. And it is organizations like this that are going to be paramount to what our youth see tomorrow, so that they can have a future and pass these stories and these things along in the most relevant and the most righteous way each and every day. Not only being a child, when I think about the Cherokee Trail of Tears Awards for Excellence that 8th graders and 12th graders are bestowed, and this is something that I remember going, and at that time when I was in school, Wilma Mankiller was the chief, and you were always, is she going to be there? And is she going to address the group of each and every one of us? I'm happy to say that we continue these things today, and that if you have anybody out there that's thinking about these awards for excellence, I know these open up in January, so that time is coming soon. Back to the bike ride real quick. The process has been ongoing, and I want to thank Mr. Will Chavez for the work that he continues to do. I know we're diligently looking at the next set of riders because training is just around the corner. But today is about each and every one of you. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for assembling. For what I feel like is one of the most important things is to understand the truth of that story. And right now, if you're watching the news here in Oklahoma, no matter typically what channel, I'm a Channel 6 guy. I'm not putting a plug in for Channel 6, but they've been, today's the premiere out in California for a very important movie about the Osage Nation, Killers of the Flower Moon. There's, today's that premiere. Tomorrow there's some early showings, and right now people are finding the discovery of what was really happening to that nation. There's things that has happened to each tribal nation all across the United States, and I think it is of the utmost importance that we as Cherokees, or whatever tribe that you are from, that we tell the correct story and that we lift up our brothers and sisters from other nations and within our nation so that we can move forward with the health, with the harmony that the Creator has intended for each of us to put forth. Let the Creator's light shine through you today. Wado, thank you.